Okay, so I'm doing a different video. Something a little different along the lines. Because, I believe that as a Christian, it's important for us to be speaking out to our churches, in our churches, because this is a Christian fight, first and foremost. But as some very wise pastors I've talked to, just like, as Christians, we are to influence the rest of society. We're a salt and light. And that means changing the minds of people who are not Christian. I'm not saying to make them Christian, for we know that becoming a Christian is a work of the Holy Spirit by God. But much like the abolitionists who fought against slavery, they changed the minds of people who were not Christians. So, and this is one of those stories that I feel highlights the culture that we live in, the culture of death that we live in. That highlights the complete absurdity, the emptiness of argumentation, the lack of rational thought, of consistency, of truthfulness. This story highlights all those things. So that's why I'm doing the video. So, if you look at this picture, it's from Instagram. I'm not on Instagram. I saw the picture online when I was browsing the internet, doing some research about abortion. So there's this woman, Jamie Otis. She's from a reality TV show called Married at First Sight on A&E. And so I guess she's somewhat a semi-celebrity. I mean, if you look at the picture, it has 30,000 likes. That's a lot of people. I mean, there are some YouTube channels that have that much, but she, obviously has some kind of following. So, her and her husband announced that she was pregnant, and sadly enough, 17 weeks into her pregnancy, her baby, as you can see here, she had a miscarriage. If you look at the picture, you can see how small her son is. Very sad. It's brave for her to be on this. I'm not sure I would do it because it's a very personal, intimate, painful experience. I'm not sure if I would be able to share that with the world, even a picture of my son. But I don't blame her for it, and if that's what she feels like is a healing process for her to help other women, I applaud that, and I think that's a good thing. So, if you look at what she wrote here, she says that she can't sleep well, so she wanted to blog about her sweet boy, Jonathan Edward. And she obviously considers him her son. That's her boy. She said, I hope by me sharing my sweet boy, Johnny, as Doug and I call him, you realize that he's a harmless, helpless baby who deserves to be remembered, not hidden away because his image may offend someone. My prayers go out to everyone who has lost their sweet baby too early. So this is sad. This is sad. I hope the best for her. Wish the best for her. Pray for the best for her. And she rightly calls her son her baby. 17 weeks old. A little over 4 months. That's her son. It's consistent to say that's her son. We as Christians believe life begins at conception, that the stages that the zygote and the fetus go through while in the mother's stomach are just stages of human development, but they're not less human because they're going through a stage of development. They are human beings in a different stage of development, and just that. So her son here, I believe, is rightly called her son, her baby boy. And you could see in the picture they're very upset and they're crying about it, and you could see that it's not just a clump of cells. And this is true. Now, here's where we see the inconsistency and the absurdity and the lack of rational thought and any type of truth in our culture, in the overall culture. Because how many abortions happen at this stage of development? Many. In fact, we have a woman who is running for the presidency of this country who supports abortion on demand. That's abortion at any stage of the pregnancy up to the time of birth. She has supported partial birth abortions, which is the dastardly, heinous murder of a child late in the pregnancy. Horrible. She supports this stuff, and they call it choice, right? They call it choice. So we have a culture that supports this behavior, that supports abortion on demand. Many people support abortion on demand because they say it's not a child, it's not a person, it has no rights, not a person. As Christians, they call that murder. But they say the baby has no rights. So those both can't be true. If this is her baby, if this is her baby son, which she rightfully says so, then how can it be that abortion at this stage is not murder, but just a clump of cells and a woman's choice, as they call it? There is no more empty phrase or slogan, if you call that, in the human language than it's a woman's choice. It's so empty, and when I confront women about this or men about this on the street, they're speechless. It's your choice. Your choice to what? Your choice to murder your son? Your choice to murder your daughter? Women's choice. I support women's choice. And I show them the picture of an aborted baby, and I show them, this is your choice, this is what you're saying. And they just keep repeating it like some mantra. Choice. It's choice. Hillary Clinton has said this. It's choice. Now, also, to highlight the situation even further, Jamie Otis has written a book where she said that she's had 2 abortions in the past. Now, I hope that she can see the inconsistency in this. That she's had 2 abortions in the past, and now she's had a miscarriage. If her 2 abortions in the past are anything like this child, my question is, how are they any different? Because you chose one, you willingly chose the abortion, and this one was I guess you didn't choose that. So because you chose one and you didn't choose to do the other, it's a human being. Because you chose the abortion for your first 2 children, it wasn't a human being. Your child wasn't a human being. But because you wanted to have this baby, that makes it a human being. That's incoherent thought. It makes no sense. If human beings are rational creatures, if there is any hope for human beings, this type of illogical absurdity must be pointed out. And I hope that Miss Jamie Otis, having gone through this pain, would now see and speak out for other children who will be, for the 3,000 other children who will be murdered today, tomorrow, having gone through that. But we can see the inconsistency. This is her son. I agree with that. And he is no more her son than her other 2 children that she aborted. Marriage or abortion. Miscarriage or abortion. Where abortion differs is that it is the planned and very calculated decision to tear apart a child in the mother's womb, to use a vacuum to suck out the pieces. Yeah, it's grotesque, it's bloody, it's murder. Ms. Jamie Otis, be consistent. Be consistent. We'll see. But this story will highlight, it will show. It will show. On one hand, we have a woman who calls her 17-week-old baby her son, says he's in heaven, shows the pain she's going through, rightfully so. And then on the same hand, we have abortions happening at this, and you know, the comments been of people, oh, it's so sad. It is sad. It is sad. But not more sad than the thousands of babies like this who are murdered every single day in abortion mills throughout this nation. The 3,000 plus children. Well, I guess there is a difference. The difference is that one is a calculated measure. And just like these women, it's no thought that maybe they shouldn't engage in the illicit sexual activity that they willingly do. That's not a thought. No one tells them. There's no massive pushing in to educate women or to preach abstinence or good sexual morality and conduct. No. Sexual freedom is an idol. It's worshipped. It's the highest degree of something to strive for. Sexual expression. And abortion is how they're able to continue it with their sexual perverseness, because they get pregnant and then they murder their children. This is the culture of death that we live in, and it's a sad, sad story. And I do it wishing the best for Miss Otis and her husband, but as an example of the complete lack of rational thought, consistency, and actual desire to look into the truth of what is happening in abortion in this nation. May you do that, Christian, and be a voice for these babies. God bless you. Thank you.